hurdle in bringing about the change being discussed is the influence and power of police unions, often accused of protecting bad cops and fostering a culture of silence. As CNN's Sarah Murray reports, union supporters say police on the front lines are under siege and being targeted and need protection.
As protests across the country grow in the wake of George Floyd's death, elected officials under pressure to overhaul police tactics are pointing to a critical hurdle to reform: police unions.
Let me be very clear. We're going after the police union. We need to be able to have the culture shift.
In Minneapolis, where 4 officers were fired and charged in Floyd's death, the head of the police union is a vocal supporter of President Trump.
The Obama administration and the handcuffing and oppression of police was despicable.
Lieutenant Bob Pearl called protesters a terrorist movement and vowed to fight for the officers' jobs in a letter shared by the former Minneapolis police chief. In Buffalo, New York, the mayor says the police union pressured 57 officers to quit a special emergency response team after 2 of their colleagues were suspended for pushing a 75-year-old protester.
The Buffalo Police Union is on the wrong side of history. They are wrong in this situation. They have been a barrier to further police reform.
Government officials and labor experts say contract provisions make it tough to remove bad cops in police departments nationwide. Contracts can limit officer interrogations and misconduct allegations, require the destruction of officers' disciplinary records, and prevent superiors from considering those records in promotion or removal decisions.
Chief says, I was forced to promote this guy, and I know that that's obviously problematic because 3 years ago, right outside of the period predicted in the contract, there were 5 incidents that really cost me heartburn. And that is troubling, given the awesome authority that police have over people's lives.
Officer discipline is often handled through arbitration, where outside arbiters can overrule the police chief, often on technicalities buried in the contract, experts say.
We need reform in the area of the police union to make sure that the chief can actually have disciplinary control over the force.
Police unions say they work to secure better pay and benefits for their officers, and that they have a duty to defend their members. They're also politically powerful, using a war chest of membership dues to fund litigation, back political candidates, and lobby against legislation that could put limits on policing.
They form political action committees. They donate to a district attorney's race or a state's attorney's race, state senators and representatives and so forth. And then we wonder why you can't get anything done.
Now, Jake, today, Jim Pasco, who's the executive director of the National Fraternal Order of Police, which is the largest police union in the country, said they want to be a constructive part of this process. Pasco says, we're talking with the White House, we're talking with Democrats, we're talking with Republicans, we're talking with activists. We'll talk to anybody that we feel is truly interested in making a difference. Back to you.
All right, Sarah Murray in Washington, thank you. Joining us now, Marilyn Mosby. She is the state's attorney for the city of Baltimore. She prosecuted the 6 officers in the Freddie Gray case back in 2015. They were not ultimately convicted. They went back to the department. Ms. Mosby, thanks so much for joining us. First of all, I mean, people understand, you work with police. You rely on them more than you prosecute them, right? So you probably have a somewhat nuanced view of police and the role they play.
So yes, you work hand in hand with the police department as a prosecutor. We prosecute approximately 40 to 50,000 cases a year in Baltimore City. So that goes hand in hand. However, your job as a prosecutor is to seek justice. And it has to be one standard of justice for all, regardless of your race, your sex, your religion, or your occupation. That's what happened in 2015 when an innocent 25-year-old black man by the name of Freddie Carlos Gray Jr. made eye contact with police. He was unconstitutionally arrested, placed in a metal wagon, head first, feet shackled, handcuffed, his spine partially severed in the back of that wagon, and his pleas for medical attention were ignored. I followed the facts with the law, and I applied one standard of justice to the police department.
And why is it so difficult to convict policemen for crimes that if I did them, I would go to jail?
So I think it's incredibly difficult to hold police officers accountable. As was just suggested, you have a very powerful labor union that goes against you. You saw my colleague in Minneapolis that tried to deflect from this inaction and bring me into it and showcase the Freddie Gray convictions or lack thereof. It comes with a level of intimidation. You're harassed, you're intimidated, you're sued. I was sued. There's a number of issues that come along with prosecuting and police, but there are also a great deal of tangible reforms that can come about by doing your job and merely applying that one standard of justice. A week after I charged those officers, the Department of Justice came in exposed to discriminatory policing practices of the 8th largest police department in the country. That exposure ultimately led to reform. We now have a federally enforceable consent decree that even despite Trump, they tried to forestall it, is still on record, but understand and recognize with the tangible reforms, the use of force policies that emphasize the de-escalation and the sanctity of life, the affirmative duty for officers to intervene.
I think we've lost her